Intuition in daily life. Real life stories and examples demonstrating how intuition guides decisions and transforms lives. Fundamentally, your intuition is the seed of your decision-making process, and your decision-making process starts with your second chakra. Your second chakra is responsible for all the feelings of pleasure you enjoy, from the joy of taking a swim in warm ocean waters to feeling the sun on your back. It is responsible for the feeling of pleasure from all the millions of joys that we experience as we go on living our lives. When children are very young, they go through a phase of developing the second chakra, and this is the phase of play. When children play, they are basically discovering the world around them. And in that discovery, they're also discovering whether they enjoy certain things and whether they don't enjoy certain things. And that's why play is such an important developmental stage of life. And if children don't have the opportunity to explore and play and discover what they like and dislike on their own, the development of their second chakra gets stalled. Unsurprisingly, if the development of the second chakra is stalled within oneself, the ability to identify likes and dislikes, what feels authentic, what doesn't feel authentic, what I want to move towards, what I don't want to move towards, what I want to desire, what I want to reject, becomes confused. Then naturally, when we come to the developmental stage of the third chakra, that comes after the second chakra, we run into a problem. The third chakra, located around the solar plexus as an energetic structure, has everything to do with power and decision making in relationship to others. And so it's the seat of our morality. It's the seat of our choices. It's the seat of us being able to decide for ourselves whether we are right or wrong, despite what other types of energies are coming towards us from our environment. The health of the third chakra is very much influenced by the development of the second chakra. If you think about it, if you come into a decision-making process not being able to properly feel out what you like and dislike, it's going to be very difficult to make decisions. It's going to be even very difficult in conversations with others to be able to navigate what feels like an authentic expression and what feels like inauthenticity. And so without that foundation of being able to feel your yes and no, the intuition becomes stunted. This is why the intuition is foundational and critical to the decision-making process. For most people, when they suffer trauma, fundamentally, it is the second chakra that becomes the most affected. And that's because the trauma tells them that if they risk experiencing pleasure from the gamut that life has to offer, they also risk their safety. And so they reel it in and they narrow down the paths through which they are allowed to experience life and allowed to find their pleasure. And as a result of that narrow valley through which they begin to travel, their second chakra becomes impacted. What we want when we heal our trauma is to open up the gamut and gates again and be able to live our lives circumstance to circumstances, opening and sometimes creating healthy boundaries as necessary. This is fundamentally what happens for people when they start listening to their intuition. They start being able to create healthy boundaries with their environment. Protection is automatic. For many people, when they think about psychic protection or spiritual protection, they many times think of some sort of esoteric process that's needed in order to achieve it. But protection in and of itself is very simple. Protection comes down to the ability to discern and to follow your intuition when it speaks to you, and to know what your boundaries are in any particular moment, in any particular situation. Intuition is also the foundation of self-trust and confidence. For many people, their perception of confidence is that it is something that you attain as the result of doing something many times. But I have known many people who were very, very successful and still had low self-esteem and low self-confidence. So what's the deal with confidence? Confidence is not something that is based on the number of experiences you have about a particular thing. Confidence is the result of being connected to yourself and being able to follow what's right for you in any particular moment. When you are connected to yourself, you have confidence because you know you're not about to make a misstep. You can trust it's going to be okay because you're in touch with your environment. This is also the same thing for trust. Trust is not a matter of how many times you've experienced somebody's trustworthiness, because you may experience somebody's trustworthiness 1,000 times, and then there's that one time that they're untrustworthy. Trust is about a relationship with the self. And the reality is that the parameters of trust are changing all the time. Trust has more to do with our connection to ourselves and our intuition and our ability to read our environment and trust what we're reading. That could mean we realize when somebody is lying to us, but it also means that we're also to perceive when they're not lying to us. And so trust isn't a fixed state of mind. It's a matter of presence and situations and being able to respond to each and every moment and situation individually according to what is happening in that moment. Self-trust and confidence are the ingredients for good discernment, and they come from a bold connection with your intuition, choosing to follow it no matter what, even if you don't understand it. Because the reality is that your logical mind often cannot understand all the electrical impulses and energetic information that you're receiving from the environment that your intuition does. And then your intuition simply feeds you a message. Do this, do that. This is the situation, without you necessarily even understanding why you know that information or why you should take that action. So it's very important in the process of moving toward the intuition to release an attachment to having to always understand everything before it happens. There have been times in my own life when only 10 years after I made a significant life decision, I could fully grasp exactly why that was the perfect decision to make at that time in my life. It's because it wasn't necessarily until 10 years later that everything came to fruition from the decision panning out over time that I could see exactly why it put me exactly where I needed to be, doing exactly what I needed to do with the people I needed to do it with, individually according to what is happening in that moment.